Petey. Petey, you're live. You're live on RECN Stories. Isn't he the cutest? I think every live video I've had Petey on there. So everyone, how are we doing tonight? It's pretty late, so I don't think I have anybody on here yet. But, oh, also the Ravens game is going on right now. So people may be watching that. I sure as hell not, because secret, I don't give a shit about football. I just don't. I mean, I'll like to go drink like the rest of them. Actually, you know what? I don't even like doing that anymore. I'm getting too old for that. So I don't really care about tailgating, football. I just don't care. So even though you can see the stadium, that's the lights. That's M&T right there in my window. Not going to find me there. I just don't care. So, okay, we have one person not watching. Hey, Carrie. Not watching football right now. So, couple quick things, and then I'll let you guys go. It's late. Well, actually, by the time some of you watch it, it probably won't be late. But it's late for me, and I'm finna go to bed. So, I want to start with my rap. This isn't going to be a great rap. In fact, it's like 4 lines. I'm going to be upfront and honest. I tried to write it. Wasn't feeling the creativity flow. It was taking me way too long. So wrote this pathetic little thing, but I had to at least put something out there because I've done a rap every single week. And I feel like now it's this like expectation and I can't not do it. So here it is. And just bear with me. It's not great, but we're just doing this to check the box, okay? Yo, Ripster Rhymes is back and ready to spit. You ready to get wild? You finna to get lit. Got stuff to say, now let's talk about it. Whoa, that's crazy. I just turned to a Brit. And that's literally it. Oh, that rhymed too. Yeah, that's all I got. Sorry, guys. It just wasn't coming to me tonight. So I still got to do my opening rap, though. So as you can see on the description, I talked about or wrote a little comment about the mental load. I think there's a lot of different definitions for what the mental load is. But what I was talking about specifically, and remember with these RECN stories, I try and pick up stuff that happens in real life during the week and then just kind of document the journey and talk about things that happen and maybe try and relate it back to some sort of lesson that maybe people can take away or relate to. And the mental load was something I thought of today that really came up in the forefront of my life because I like being upfront and raw and honest on here. This isn't my public Facebook page, and I feel like this is like a private community so I can share. You know, Jill and I, my wife, we got in like a argument today. You know, typical, I was about to say husband-wife, in this case, wife-wife argument. And it was really based around me not doing my fair share around the house. And just to cover my bases ahead of time, you're not going to hear anything out of me in terms of me being right or blaming or making excuses because I was wrong, for sure. So that's kind of what this is about. It's actually me being self-aware of where I'm not necessarily carrying my weight. And maybe some of you can relate, or maybe you guys, people watching, are the other side of the coin if you're in a relationship where you feel like you're bearing the brunt of the household chores. So, you know, we got in an argument or whatever. It all came out, and she sent me this really awesome article, and I think I might try and post it in the comments. And if I can't post it in the comments, all you have to do, you know, Facebook's kind of like a search engine these days, so you can search the mental load, and it'll pop right up. And it's actually a comic, so it's like a little cartoon, but, you know, with like words in it. It's like an actual like comic that you can scroll and follow along, and it really makes it easy to follow along. And so really, like with Jill and I in our relationship, in a lot of ways, if we're going to just like compare it to a straight relationship, which that helps people like understand how we interact with each other, I'm more like the husband, she's more like the wife in a lot of ways. So not to genderize it, but it just makes it easier to understand. So in the context of us, generally Jill bears what we call the mental load. Anyone watching this, especially moms, I'm not a mom yet, we're not moms yet, we will be, so it's really just between us, but especially if you're parents, this even like compounds this mental load. But basically the mental load is when not only are you responsible for your, half of the chores, but also you're responsible for planning, organizing, reminding about all of the chores. So basically, you're the project manager of the household and you're responsible for executing these tasks. And the cartoon is actually really brilliant in the way that it depicts a visual of this, and it shows let's say you're having a couple over for dinner. You're having a little dinner party, and the guest comes in, and let's just say I'm the husband in this scenario. Guest comes in, I sit down with them, and I'm kind of just talking with them on the couch, entertaining. Meanwhile, in the background, Jill's trying to cook dinner. In the cartoon, she has kids, so we'll say, we're parents, and she's tending to the children, and they're kind of acting up, and she's trying to just calm them down. Meanwhile, dinner's on the stove, and in the cartoon, dinner just overflows, falls on the floor. It just becomes a huge mess, and the husband stands up, and he's like, "What's going on? What's happening? What'd you do?" And she's like, "What do you mean, what'd I do? I'm doing everything." And he goes, "Well, why didn't you tell me? You should have asked. I would have helped." And that's kind of the crux that the entire video or the entire comic is based on, that in my case, I'm kind of the man in the relationship in this scenario, the husband or whatever, where I'm always well, why didn't you ask? I would have helped you if you had asked. But that still puts Jill in the position of being the project manager that has to assign tasks, which is a full-time job on its own, as opposed to me just knowing what to do and stepping up and helping, not waiting to be assigned. So the mental load in that case is what many women in this scenario, doesn't have to be the woman clearly in my case, but she is a woman too, but she bears the mental load of having to not only do all those tasks, but also make sure she lets me know of what I need to do, as opposed to me bearing some of that burden and knowing and executing my fair share. So all in all, it ends up being that the heavier burden is usually on one partner. And usually it ends up being the woman. I'm not, this isn't have to be a conversation about battle of the sexes or whatever, but it's tends to be the woman, just because societally and culturally growing up, women end up taking care of the household, and traditionally men did business, so we're kind of raised in this culture that creates that. And so moving forward, it was a really great conversation tonight, because it really brought to my attention and made me self-aware that, wow, I really do kind of expect Jill to let me know when I need to do something for the house. And so what that means is she bears the brunt of that mental load, and I just expect her to let me know when something needs to get done, which completely releases me of any part of that mental load. And it really just means that I don't take any responsibility for the household. So, and taking care of the home. So really what I took away from that was I need to make sure I consider taking care of the household part of my duty, because I never really have, honestly. So I just wanted to share that. I don't know how well I explained it. The cartoon does it brilliantly, the comic. So if you look up the mental load, it really depicts it really well. And it's just a good perspective, whether you're in a relationship right now, whatever side of the coin you're on. And I'm here being vulnerable, telling you I'm on the wrong side of the coin, where Jill's bearing the mental load and I have not been a fair partner to her. So if any of you can relate to that, please let me know. And if you want to relate to more Jill's position, where she's been bearing the actual mental load, it's really interesting, and I really could relate to it, and I could see the point immediately. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and that really caused me to rethink how I do things around the house and how I treat Jill. And so I think it's going to really help our relationship, and so we don't bicker and fight over household chores. So the second thing I wanted to mention was, what was the second thing I wrote on there? Oh, discount your services. This is more like a business thing. That one was more like personal stuff. Discounting your services. This is interesting to me, and it came to the forefront this week. So a lot of you know, as I mentioned in the first video, I kind of wear two hats. I have a Cutco business and also publish this magazine. So traditionally with Cutco, a lot of times the way that we were able to sell orders on the spot was through creating some sort of incentive to get people to order right away. And usually that incentive would be in the form of some sort of discount. So we'd be at like an event and we would do our pitch and we would say, if you order today, you get blank, or if you order today, it's whatever % off, right? And that did work really well because, especially for something like, if I'm being honest, like Cutco gifts, it's not ever really a priority. Like, we like to hope and pretend that it really is, but in the scope of like tasks that need to be done in order for, in this case, like a realtor to get their paycheck and close on a deal, Cutco is not necessarily part of that equation. It can help, and it certainly does, but it's not the number one priority, and I'm very, very, I know that. So hold on a second. I need to get out of this thing. Oh shoot, it's saying rotate phone. Sorry, I had something on my foot. I was like, oh. So anyway, because Cutco is not necessarily always, not really a priority, I always felt like I needed to discount the service. Let me get in a better light here. I always felt like I needed to discount the product in order to close people on the spot, right? So I've done that for a long time. But I asked that question in this video because something happened this week that made me kind of question the way that I do things in the other business. So in the magazine side, typically what I'm selling now is advertising. I mean, it's a partnership with us. I'm selling a partnership. And of course, really what they're gaining is the exposure to our community and advertising in the magazine and access to our events. And you know, so far, I haven't really discounted anything. And I kind of like that. I think it's awesome. I love that I don't feel like I need to discount anything. I feel like it's totally worth it, and that's why I don't discount it, whatever I'm quoting. And this week, I had a particular appointment with a potential partner, and we sat down, we did the whole thing. It was one of those scenarios where both decision makers weren't present, which I always try and avoid, and get all decision makers on the site, but it didn't happen that way. So she went back to speak with the other decision maker and kind of came back with a counteroffer. And the counteroffer was $100 less than I told them it was per month to be a part of our network. And I basically was like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Because I've had kind of like a hard stance on that so far. I'm trying to be fair across the board for all the other partners because I know everybody talks, and I don't want someone to be like, wait, you're paying that for this, I'm paying this, hey, you know. I don't want to get into that. So I guess my question for anyone watching this is, do you discount your services? Do you discount your products? And I'm honestly asking, I would love your feedback below. And if so, why? And if not, why? I'd love to hear, because I kind of see both sides. On the Cutco side, I kind of, and maybe it's a limiting belief, I felt like I needed to discount it in order to create urgency because it's not a high priority item, and I needed to give someone a reason to place an order when I was sitting there in front of them, or just to be nice, or whatever the case may be. But now, selling partnerships, selling advertising for my publication, since the start, I've kind of had this, it is what it is, this is the cost, pay it or don't kind of attitude. Not in like a bitchy way, just like, this is the price. And I kind of like that because so far, I didn't want to discount it from off the start because I didn't want to start the relationship that way. I didn't want to set the context for our future dealings with each other to be with this discount, because then I would feel like, you know, it would just be creating the wrong expectation for moving forward. And And I do feel like it is worth it. So curious of your thoughts, anyone watching this, if you discount your services. It's doing that thing again. And Brenton, I think you may be watching this, and some of you may just think this is ridiculous. But last week, I couldn't see comments. I still can't see comments. And I don't know why. And it's really bothering me. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that I smashed my phone. And my screen right now, obviously you can't see it, is completely shattered. I mean, it's like completely shattered. I still haven't gotten a new phone. So when I was saying this last week, everyone was commenting and I couldn't see anything. And it was really frustrating because I couldn't like live react to people. So wait, let me just try a few things. Bear with me for a second. I can see who's on here. Try swiping left and right while live. That's what Brenton just texted me. See if it shows the comments. Brenton, I am doing that and I don't see the comments. So, like I'm in video only mode, but then I swipe and I see who's joining, but I can't see who's commenting. Sorry guys, if you're commenting, which you probably are because otherwise Brenton wouldn't have said that. I can't see it. Damn it. So I'll comment and reply after this video, and I'm sorry I can't respond to you on the spot. But so please do, if you haven't already, let me know if you discount your services. And if you do sometimes, let me know the scenarios that you would and scenarios that you wouldn't. And I know those of you watching in real estate can probably relate to this because I'm sure that's an objection you get more often than others, you know, questions about your commission and discounting your commission. And I've heard a lot of like objection handlers for that, you know, like, oh, well, if we start the relationship like this, like, how do you think I'll negotiate on your house? Like, you know, kind of equating it to that. And I think there's a lot of good responses to that. But in general, just curious what your philosophy is on that. To round out that story that I started with that particular prospect, I didn't close the deal. So, and, you know, I went back, and we have a good rapport, we have a good relationship, so I went back and asked her directly, and I said, just for my own knowledge, because I love, like, sales psychology and whatnot, if I had said yes when you said this much for 24 months, would have been a done deal? And she was like, yes, it would have, but we just, you know, once you said it couldn't be done, we considered it, but ultimately it wouldn't have, you know, it was just outside of our budget. And even if you said you would now, it really caused us to rethink the length of the agreement and blah, blah, blah. And all these other excuses came out, but that all started because I didn't just say yes. So of course the saleswoman in me was kicking myself because I love to close deals, and that's like the thrill of the kill. Like I love that stuff. So sometimes I just want to close it, which makes me want to like discount sometimes. But I don't fully regret it. See, I'm like toggling both, which is why I wanted to throw that question out there for people to answer. Because like in a way I regretted it because I didn't get the deal. But in another way I was like, I'm kind of glad I stood my ground, because you'll win some, you lose some, and it's not a fit for everybody. And if they can't do it at this rate, then maybe it's an on to the next one scenario. So anyway, that's all I got for you tonight. Sorry about the comment snafu. I don't know how the hell I'm going to fix this. Maybe I should use a different device next time, because this is some bullshit, because I'd rather be interacting with you guys. But yeah, let me know. I'll reply to your comments after. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll have a better wrap next time. It's my final RECN story next week. I'll do my best to make it a really good one. I know these last two have been kind of half-assed, especially in terms of the wrap. So I'll bring it next time for you guys. All right? Love ya. Bye.